about it this way, right? How many times have you been in a situation or you need to solve a problem and you don't know how to solve it? But then you have what? An idea. Think about this, just an idea. And where does the idea come from?
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 296. Hope you're amazing as always. Hope you really are, and life is treating you beautiful. Beautiful. I think, do you know what? I'm going to give you the date today before we jump in. And I've really been hoping you've been enjoying the previous podcast because we're doing so many cool ones with the best ofs, right? We got Joe Rogan in there. We've got loads of cool different people. And I want you to go and listen to them. Remember, use Mindset by Design podcast a little bit different from the others. You have to. Why do you have to? Well, I want you to use it like a library. Remember, go back piecemeal the episodes together and you can create your very own session. I've had so many people do it over the years, and I want you to be able to access and think about this podcast a different way. Because if you are a new listener, then welcome. Always awesome to have a new member of the Mindset by Design crew. What I want you to do is a few things. One, definitely click subscribe. Definitely go and write a show note. And definitely come and join us in the Mindset by Design group on Facebook. We've got over 3,000 people. All you've got to do is literally type my name in and Mindset. So Andy Murphy Mindset, and the call group will pop up. So make sure you are joining there. And speaking of joining, while you're doing all that, make sure that you're also heading over to the show notes. Yes, the show notes in the podcast. And depends on what platform you're listening to this, because there's quite a few out there now, right? Right? But make sure you head over to those show notes or head over to FireMind.me. Yes, FireMind me. So head over there and get your mornings dialed in. No more writing and whatever you want to be doing for the day. Switch on your unconscious mind and the power of it, and lights up the neurology in your brain to give you the thoughts, the feelings, and give you that motivation that you know you need each day. Yes, pump your brain the right way using science. So enjoy that. That's free right now. Free today. Free for this episode. So go and grab it. And also make sure that you're heading over to the show notes to get to another link, because you're going to want to be a part of this. It's called the FireMind formula. What I've done is brought together very high-end masterminds, very high-end mentoring, very high-end digital training, and I've brought it into one place. Why? Because I saw that I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on all of these things, and I never got to hang out or get actually mentored by the mentor, unless I was paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month. Nothing wrong with that. I do that. But what I wanted to do also is give you access to myself, my trainings, 19 years of working with the best in the world, and I want to show you how to take your business brain to a whole new level and to make this year your best year ever. So you can go to firemind.me, right, /apply for FireMind. Apply -for-FireMind, or go to the show notes and click on the link. But you're going to want to be a part of this. Remember, you can always email me at andy@mindsetbydesign.co. Whew! I went on a bit of a rant at the start. Hey, it usually takes me a few minutes to get into it, but I really hope you're awesome and you do all of those things for yourself today. Right, why am I talking to you? Because I don't want to talk to you too much, because I want you to get into the episode today. The reason is, do you know what? We're on, what's the date? I was going to tell you. It's the 11th of March, okay? The 11th of March, 2021. And the world seems to be calming down a little, right? It seems to be calming down just a little bit. And being back in the US, visiting the US, is really interesting, because people are great. They're getting on with their lives over here. Just like Central America, South America, Latin America, where I've been hanging out. It's people just seem to be getting on with their lives again. And that's so cool. But often when we haven't been able to do something, we kind of get out the habits. And you might be finding right now you've got pumping days. You might need a little bit of inspiration right now. And that's today. That's today. And I do go on lots of rants. But the cool thing is about this episode and pulling it up, it's 100 episodes ago. Okay, this is when this is from. So not everybody has heard that. So I thought I'd share that again because it's really cool. And I go on for a while, right? I do go on for a while. But I know you're going to love it. I know you're going to love it because of the quotes that I'm quoting. Yeah, as you see by the title, we got quotes by everyone you can imagine, even going back to artists like Michelangelo and even close up like Elon Musk. So I want you to listen to it all and really be inspired. And as you are inspired by this episode, I want you to also think about how you can apply it instantly in your business. And you might be saying, Andy, you showed me a marketing tactic. No, I'm not showing you a marketing tactic. There are enough people in the world showing you marketing tactics. And a lot of people in the world showing you mindset stuff who really, well, to be honest, they don't really have a clue what they're talking about, do they? They haven't dealt thousands and thousands of people. So when you come across someone who has, and then you combine it with these incredible geniuses, then guess what? You want to listen. So just think going through this episode how you could see the next level, how you could clear to a different belief, or how we start changing the chemicals and the neurology inside of the brain, right? Anyway, I'm going to shut up because it's a goodie, but you're going to hear a lot from me. So hit those show notes. See you in FireMind. See you in the group on Facebook. And see you all over the place. And anything you need, you know where to find me. Until then, I'll see you at the end of the show. But enjoy, sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the world of these amazing minds. Let's settle down. Let's hang out. You know, maybe you're on a treadmill. Maybe you're walking. Maybe you're in a car driving back or two from work or a meeting. Hey, who the hell knows where you are? But what I do know is you and me are hanging out. And that's a cool thing. So we got quotes by everyone today. The top 10 quotes that I haven't even come up with a title yet. Words of wisdom is probably the way to go. We've got quotes from lots of different places. We've got quotes from me, my nan, my grandma, Bill Hicks, Steve Jobs, Stephen Hawking, Ghandi, Henry Ford, Elon Musk, and even Michelangelo. So, don't know if that's going to be the order, but those are the quotes. So, let's settle in and get into this, because the first quote I'm going to start with is something, it's pretty powerful, and I don't actually know the author, and I'm not going to stake claim to it, but I don't know the author, but it's really powerful. Listen to this. And with all of these quotes, look, they're not just quotes to motivate you. The idea behind this whole episode is to really make you go introspective. I really want you to think about how these affect you in your own life if you changed your perspective. Does that make sense? Because these are people that have literally changed the world in lots of different ways. And I want you to understand that when a quote is really an aha moment, it's like a moment of genius. It's a moment where a light bulb goes off. It's a moment where something becomes so precise and clear that it goes through all the noise in your head and it goes right inside so you can make that change that you need to today. Because if you made that change, imagine what's possible in your own life over the next few months, over the next 90 days, over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Because it doesn't take much. Think about it this way, right? How many times have you been in a situation or you need to solve a problem and you don't know how to solve it? But then you have what? An idea. Think about this, just an idea. And where does the idea come from? Have you ever thought about that? Like properly thought about that? Have you ever thought about where an idea comes from? Mind-blowing, right? It just appears. Where does it appear from? Different theories about that, right? Whether that's a collective consciousness, superpositioning and quantum physics, whether it's old programming and it's just systematic and that's where the idea comes from. That's your choice, right? That's your perspective. Wherever it comes from, it just appears. And the idea seems so clear, so clean. It cuts through all of that noise, the hesitation, the emotions, the fear. It cuts through all of that and it just becomes clear that we can lock onto and it feels right inside of us. And that's what suddenly becomes a business, a concept, an idea. That's where it comes from. So I want you to understand that when I talk about quotes, they're not just motivational quotes to pump up my conscious mind. No, these things are designed to go through and retrain or start to create a shift in the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind being what? You got it. Your nervous system, your automatic part of your brain and body. So why I give an explanation behind them is because I want them to relate to you personally. Because I know that you're going through something in your life. I haven't met a person ever, whether it's billionaires, royalty, whoever I've worked with, people who are running monster businesses, people who are going through trauma, people who are just, want to double their sales, people who are in real estate, people who are, you get the idea. I've seen it all, been through it all and done it all. And the thing is, I know how fast things can change. Do you know what I mean? You can be sad one moment and then something can make you laugh and then suddenly you're happy. And then you have to remember to be sad again to feel sad, but you could be happy in an instant. And that's really the trick to life. Something that's what makes someone world class. I always talk about being world class and 8-figure thinking, right? 8-figure thinking is where I come up with this concept is infinite thinking. So if you're infinite thinking, how would your business and life look now through 8-figure eyes? Makes sense? So when I talk about these things, I want you to really, maybe you want to press pause after each quote and really think about this stuff. Not all of them are going to be profound. Not all of them are going to be profound, but they're all going to have a frequency, a vibration, a feeling behind them, and they're also going to have a belief about them. And so if you can really go inside and work out what that is for you, then this could be a real life-changing badass podcast. All right. So let's jump into number 1. Now, I really love this quote and I've got no idea who it's by and I've really tried to search it, but hey, there's a lot of wisdom out there, right? But this is the quote. It's never too late, but sometimes too early. Let me say it again. It's never too late, but sometimes too early. Think about that, right? Think about that with a project that you're putting together right now, or whatever you're building, your dream, a goal, whatever it is, right? I was going to go and explain, but whatever it is, it's never too late, but sometimes too early. So my question to you is, are you taking score too early? What do I mean by that? Well, you understand what I mean by that. Are you looking at your bank account? Are you looking at a goal that you're achieving? Are you looking at that business that just needs tweaking and tweaking and tweaking to make click? Or are you looking at that trading account or that real estate deal that's coming through, but then you start worrying that it won't? Does that make sense? Are you just keeping score too early? That's all it is. Are you just taking it too early? It's never too late, but sometimes too early. I love it. So how does that relate to you in your life right now? What project, what thing, what's going on? Is it a relationship? Is it your happiness? Is it your health? Is it your potential? Is it the business that you're just about to start? Is it the business that you're just about to take to IPO? Is it a hedge fund that you're working with? Is it an internet marketing business? What is it? And have you really gone through that 10,000 hours on this new topic, Michael Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule for mastery? Have you got there in this new thing that you're about to do? Not what you've done before, what you're about to do. The answer might be yes, the answer might be no. If it's yes, then guess what? We got some work to do. Connect. If it's no, then okay, then guess what? You're probably looking at things too early. If we looked at a 10-year goal and we started to go after 12 months, I'm not there yet. Well, guess what? You're not there yet, right? If you're trying to go across the country from New York to California, then you get stuck in the middle. Guess what? I'm not in California yet. Yeah, no shit, you're not in California yet. You haven't got there yet. You're looking at the map and you're halfway through. You're looking at things too early. So I love that quote because it makes you understand that you're not at the end yet. And you could relate this to the whole of life. Have you got everything that you want? Have you got complete peace of mind? Do you perform under any high pressure circumstance? Are you waking up in the morning and you're calm instead of full of anxiety? Well, no. Okay. Well, maybe it's yes. Maybe it's yes for some of that stuff, and that's badass. But if it's no, I want you to really understand that you're projecting the future a certain way and you're thinking about the past a certain way, but you're in the middle. So if you take the steps forwards on your journey now, what it's going to mean is that, do you ever see, look at it this way. Do you ever see, that's an old meme. And you've probably seen it. It's probably one of the original OG memes. Do you know where there's like a graphic and there's two guys and they've got pickaxes and they're digging through a tunnel and there's gold at the end of the tunnel, but they're digging and digging and digging and one they just give up, right? And they're so close to that gold, but they can't see it's there. And the other dude just keeps digging and then gets the gold. Well, it's the same with anything. It's the same with building muscle, mental or outside muscle. It's the same with driving across a country. It's the same with anything. So I just want you to realize that, are you just nearly there? You just need to train your mind a bit differently. You need to be more disciplined on some stuff. You just need to, you get where I'm going. Hopefully that helps. That's number 1. So words of wisdom 2 is by the one and only Mr. Steve Jobs. Now, you gotta love Steve. Doesn't matter if you might know him personally and he was a complete douchebag to you. You have to change that perspective and really look at what he's accomplished. And the guy was an absolute genius. And when you see him outside of actually creating a project and you see him in interviews, have you ever seen an interview with him and Bill Gates? It's really badass, man. Google that, because they're both sitting there and they're actually, the egos get dropped and they're actually realized that they're really close and they couldn't have built the businesses that they did without each other because they bounced off each other. That's a crazy thing in itself, right? Without Bill, there probably wouldn't be Steve. Without Steve, there probably wouldn't be Bill. To the same level. But what's Steve's quote? You will 100% have heard it before, right? Because it's Steve Jobs and you've probably listened to his audiobook, read his books, watched a billion interviews. But it's still an absolute incredible quote. And it might be relevant to you. Maybe you're going through a shift in your business. Maybe you've come to that place where your money is automated and now it's you're looking at what to do next. Maybe you're about to launch your business or you're in the early stages and you're just not quite sure because it feels like such a grind. Or maybe you're in the corporate world and now you want to know how to get out and you don't know where to go or where to start. Well, this quote is gonna help you. So, Steve says, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be satisfied is to do great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know it when you find it. I love that quote for many different reasons. For many different reasons, because it goes against so much of the BS that's taught in personal development in many different ways. People just say, find your passion, right? Find your passion and that's it. Well, that's a good advice, but you could end up being broke if you don't have the rest of the structure or the knowledge around how to market or get that thing out there. You might love sewing, right? Well, cool. Sew all day. You're going to probably be broke. Build a business around sewing or find a way that it taps into a market around sewing. Then you're probably going to make money, right? But you're still around sewing. But then there's so many people, and I've spoke to them. It's the logical brain, full logic brain. And it's a case of this is what they say. Why do I need to love what I do when I can just make money for me and my family? Is there anything wrong with that? No, absolutely not. But my always question is, if you're that talented at that, imagine how much success you would get if you were aligned with what you were really, truly passionate about doing. Does that make sense? Now, I want you to really look at both perspectives because neither of them are right. Neither of them are wrong. They're not. I know a lot of I don't actually know any single people who play American football, but I've heard a lot of comments about American football from American football people, and what they talk about is that they don't really like it. Or it's the same with fighters. Let's talk about fighters. UFC, of course. By the way, UFC was just in Liverpool this weekend. Darren Till. That's the first time the UFC has ever been in there, and he won. Whether it was a close fight, but hey, he won. So that's the first time ever. So I'm real proud. But let's use a quote from, or a statement, I should say, from a guy called Anthony Rumble Johnson. And he's just a crazy athlete, like one of the most talented, gifted athletes you could ever imagine. Just so massive and explosive, just a powerhouse. And he gives, I don't really like fighting. I get that, but I don't really like it. I'm just very good at it. So then it brings up that question. Is the thing that you're about to do something that you love or something that you are just good at? Neither of them are right or wrong, but I want you to start thinking about this as you move into the next stage or phase of your business and life. Because if you had an ultimate choice and you could earn more money doing one thing, but you just weren't happy, or you could do another thing and that give you such bliss, it becomes a personal choice. You know, nothing's forever, but I just want you to, there's no answer to this, by the way, because each is very, very unique. And this is something we'd work out together, but it's very, very unique. Because if you're doing what you love every single day and you can pay the bills, you can live, you can earn good money doing it, you know, everything's good. You can travel, you can do all the things that you like, but you're every single day from morning to night, you're doing what you love. How nice is that? For me, do you know, years ago, I was putting together $100 million resort. If I'd have been just doing sales in real estate, I'd have definitely earned like silly millions. But I know I wouldn't have been happy. I'd have been constantly in anxiety and stress and worry, and just the pressure wouldn't have been too much. It wasn't in alignment with me. But what I do now is just help people. What I do now makes me so happy, understanding the brain, development, growth, just helping people become the best fucking versions of themselves they can possibly be in every industry in the world. Then guess what? That's amazing. I work with high pressure performance. So no matter what someone's under pressure wise, I help them perform. I love it. Why? Because I relate to it and I've been there. And also I work with scaling people's thinking to scale their business from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 plus figures, right? Or to do a launch or whatever the heck it is. I love it. There's nothing else I'd rather do in the world. This is it. So could I earn massive more money doing something else? Maybe. But would I be happy? Now, do I earn good money now? Damn right I earn good money now. And it's only going to get better as I help more people. So that's pretty cool. So I just want you to ask yourself and be truthful. Remember the reality model. You got it? So I just want you to be truthful at the next stage you're stepping into. What's the drive behind it? Is there other possibilities or options that you could step into that would be more in alignment, that you can look at Steve Jobs' advice of saying the only way to do great work is to be satisfied at what you do. And the only way to do that is to love what you do. Steve loved it. He loved the hustle. He loved the negotiating. He loved the creativity. He loved taking something that no one else thought was possible and making it appear in this three-dimensional world. That's special, right? That's a special thing. And that's why we love Steve. Let's jump in to number 3. Number 3 is by the late, great Stephen Hawking. Actually, I should pronunciate it correctly, Stephen Hawking. Singular, not plural. Really nice, simple, but powerful quote. However difficult life may seem, there is always something you could do and succeed at. And I love that quote for many different reasons. I'll read it one more time. However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. And why is that a powerful quote? Because it doesn't seem it on the front, right? But it is. So when you've been in the shittiest places in your life, right? Or something's gone wrong and the life's crumbling around you and everything's going wrong and oh no, I can't do anything right. It's not true, is it? There's always something that you're good at. It could be computer games, right? It could be sales. It could be smiling at someone. It could be making those patterns on top of a cup of coffee. Do you know what I mean? But from my side, what this truly means is that even in our darkest moments or the moments that we're feeling anxiety, stress, and pressure, again, we're shifting what? Our perspective. So when we can understand that, I want you to understand that even making that cup of coffee, making those things on the top, right, releases certain chemicals still. Is it as powerful as Darren Till winning in a fight at the UFC this weekend in Liverpool? No, no, it's not. Different levels of the chemicals. But understand, neural nets and belief systems and endorphins and neuroepinephrine and adrenaline all give you confidence around making that thing on top of that cup of coffee because there's a certain satisfaction. So even if you, in the darkest moments, went back and started really just doing tiny little steps that sequence together, release chemicals, and what that will start to do is it will start to create a different view of the world, a different belief, a different feeling inside. And that feeling inside will directly affect how you see the world and your beliefs about it. It's just how it works. We can talk about the reticular activating system in the brain. We can talk about lots of different things. But the truth is, we can create this chain, if you want to call it that. And that's going to affect our future or how we're going to perform. So even in the shittiest moments, I know that you could run back in your mind and there's moments in your life where you've really performed. You really kicked ass. Every time you go back and repeat that sequence, what's going to happen is the brain or the nervous system, if we actually go into the memory correctly, it doesn't really know the difference. That's why I can take people back, and that's what I do. Part of my job, right? I take people's back through visualization, either to the past where we change the perspective or we rewrite it, or we literally retrain the brain to think about the future a different way. So your nervous system gets used to it. So if you were doing sales, and guess what? And you're not quite on your A game, then the point is your A game, we know it's in there, man. So if we can go in and light that up and then build it through very specific visuals and everything else into the future, what happens is we're retraining your nervous system to respond a different way. Why is that good? Well, if you respond a different way, it means you get used to being that version of you again, which means, guess what? The way you talk, your energy, your physiology, everything just adjusts to it. And that's why you were performing before. And that's why we can make it do it again. So that's why this quote is so powerful to me. It's because it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. We can always create a new you. Liking them so far? Good. I hope so. Here's jumping into number 4. Michelangelo. You know Michelangelo, right? Not the, I think he's an R&B singer. Not that guy, right? Michelangelo, the sculptor. Every block of stone has a statue inside of it. And it's our task as the sculptor to discover it. I love this so much. I'll say it again. Every block of stone has a statue inside of it. And it's the task of the sculptor to discover it. Why do I love this quote so much? Because that's my job, right? And that's also your job. My job is to really see a client or a person's, really the best version of them. I see it very, very clearly, their full potential. And if they live that best version of you, then what's possible? So it's my job to see that in you and actually help you unlock that and grow that full potential. It's your job as you to see what's inside of you by feeling what's right intuitively, trying things, failing, getting better, growing, and really bringing out that version of you. Because what a sculptor actually talks about is every piece of stone it's different. You know, it's not just like, I'm going to create this from this block. What they actually talk about is that the block of stone tells them what to create. That might sound way metaphysical and trippy. Maybe it is, right? Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. The point is, it's being able to, it's like a ball of clay. It's being able to mold that clay into a certain representation of itself. So if you have a massive block of clay or a massive block of stone, each one's going to have different consistency. It's going to have different texture. It's going to have different angles if it's block of stone. And it's being able to work with that to pull out what it already is. Does that make sense? Good. Because that's what you are. You are full of infinite possibility in every single way. And I do truly believe that we all have we have certain abilities. And these abilities, we either shape them into the best version of us, and so we can perform. And I really do believe that we all have massive potential, but I don't believe we're all meant to be billionaires, or all meant to be multimillionaires, or all meant to be Martin Luther Kings, or Elons, or Steves, or you get the idea. But I do believe that we all have you could be the best mom in the world. You could be the best mathematician in the world. You could be the best coder in the world. You could be the best painter in the world. You could be the best at sports. You could be the best meditator. You could be the best. And who cares about being the best in the world? There's nearly 8 billion people in this world, right? It's about being the best version of you and not giving a damn what anyone else thinks. And if you can do that, that's pure alignment, pure congruence, and that's beautiful. So what Steve talks about before is relating to this so deeply, because it's about finding out what you love to do, and what you love to do won't be the only thing, but it'll be something that you were able to sculpt that piece of stone into for that chapter of your life, or that day, or that year, or that relationship, or whatever it is, right? You could be, I can go on and on, but you get what I'm talking about. So it becomes your responsibility now that you know this. It becomes your responsibility to stop hiding. Stop living in distraction. Stop living in shiny objects. Stop living in the version of you that isn't congruent with who you truly are. If you sat down and designed your perfect day, your perfect life, your perfect income, your perfect business, perfect health, perfect. And again, you might be going, Andy, stop using that word perfect. Well, I believe in that word. And you're going, what? Everyone in personal development, including Tony Robbins, doesn't believe in that word. Well, I'm here to tell you that I don't believe in the personal development word. But let me explain. Everything is perfect, including the pain, right? Including the stage of the journey that you're on, right here, right now, including that person that ripped you off, including that person. Everything is perfect. Synchronistically perfect, all as a mirror for your own evolution and growth, your own soul's evolution. I really believe this. So when people say perfect's no good, well, what does that really mean? If things are perfect, does that mean that we can't attain perfection? Absolutely. There is no such thing as perfect if you're coming from that perspective. But to go in deeper on understanding what perfect means, is it something that we strive towards if you're creating a vision of the business? Yes, absolutely. But even on the journey to get towards the business, you are perfect. Where you are at stage, the reality model, right? Whatever stage you're at is perfect. The highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the highs is perfect. So when you come from that perspective, then it's time to allow yourself to be the sculptor of your own life. Which leads beautifully into number 5. It's like I created these as an order or something, right? The next one is Henry Ford. And it was interesting. I just went to Edison's and also the house next to him, Henry Ford, in Florida. Pretty incredible. You don't realize how, I had this interpretation of Edison being basically a thief, right? Having all these creations, absolutely, but I heard that he stole half of them, right? And hey, whether that's true or not, he was still an incredible guy. I think he had, by the time of his death, 1,500 patents, right? Including the light bulb and all these other things. And when you start to actually investigate, not just what all the crap that's on the internet, when you actually start looking at him as a person, you realize how much of a badass he was. And not just him, I've been around a lot of these people and looked at the history of them, and they're just amazing. They're just amazing. Edison was a badass. I should maybe do a whole topic around him, a different story. It was a different time, but yeah, anyway, otherwise I'll go off track. His quote, Henry Ford's quote, I should say, is a business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. Ah, right. So where's your focus? And you might be going, Andy, I'm a Forex trader or stockbroker. I make money. Awesome. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? You storing it in the bank? Now what? Okay, you pay your bills, you bought that boat, you bought that house, you created a legacy, created the trust fund. Awesome. Now what? Right? What's the point? Well, it means generations are there for my family of money. Awesome. For what purpose? One, you'll probably screw your kids up. Because most people think about this, right? How many people in Hollywood, they're amazing, but the kids are messed up? How many people are completely just abundantly rich, but the kids are messed up? It's because it's not the money. It's the person they had to go, the person who created the money in the business had to go through a certain journey to get that money. So they don't have the same disrespect for it or lack of wisdom behind it, or they appreciate it, they're grateful. They have a different belief system around it, but it's the kids that don't. So guess what? What's the purpose? So if you're just creating money, then that's awesome, but then what? And if we can create, by the way, if we can connect that to something amazing above what the business is, then this creates exponential motivation inside what you're doing. And that's what I do for clients too. But for you, I just want you to focus on receiving the money, but focus on the bigger picture. What are you giving back? True legacy is about what Martin Luther King did and people like that. True legacy is what Steve Jobs did. That's changing the world. And guess what? He's probably richer than you, right? He probably is. But they left and created something beautiful. So if your job is just to make money, that's awesome. But that's step one. Step two is about creating a contribution back into the world, to society, so your name potentially can live on. But more importantly, you've created, another ripple into the world of an amazing world, and helped and served and done something. So you can lie on your deathbed going, you know what? I should have made another 10 mil. Or you lying on your deathbed going, damn, I helped 1 million people. See the difference? So what Henry Ford talks about, what did he do? He did some badass things, right? But he talks about a business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. So I just want you to go inside and look at where your focus is on your business right now and your life, and really come to a place of service. If you're helping, then that helping is going to create a ripple effect to so many people's lives, and that will come back to you. I just know it. Okay, so probably want to listen to Henry Ford. Now, let's jump in to number 6. Elon Musk. I don't know if you have ever heard of him before. I don't think I've mentioned him on the podcast ever. You know, he's doing all right. He's going through some shit right now. But again, I forget what I say on podcasts. So yes, he's living in his Tesla plant right now and making sure that the production is actually going to happen. Why? Well, it's going to lose a lot of money, sure, but more importantly, the money, he could just stop it all, disappear, and he's going to probably still have 10 billion in his bank account. Not about the money, right? It's about creating something amazing and fulfilling his dreams and making sure that people respect what he's doing and he can help people. So, what's his quote? If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the right ingredients in all the right proportions. I'll say it again. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportions. I love that. And guess what? With your business, probably no one knows the exact formula. So what do? We go on courses, we listen to podcasts like this, right? And what happens as well, we start to really learn what's the mixture, what's the ingredients. So we start to get a bit of ingredients over here, start to get a bit of ingredients over there, and start to really put our own recipe together. Now that's cool. I love that. So if you're putting your own recipe together and no one really knows the truth, even with internet marketing, right? There is a strategy, a system to follow. But things constantly change and evolve. Algorithms, this changes. So you have to constantly be in artistry. And the artistry is being able to change the ingredients, or as Elon talks about, maybe not the ingredients, but the proportions of the ingredients. And when we can do that, then what happens is we create the cake. Right? And sometimes we create the cake and it's not as good as we thought it would be. So that cake, that looks a bit of a shitty cake. Okay. It's good on the inside. It tastes really good, but the outside isn't as good. Okay. So what does that mean? We're going to just create one cake? No. Are you going to try again? Yeah. Of course you are, right? So it's about getting used to the proportions. And the proportions are what? The people, the networks, the people in very specific roles, how you're performing, how you're delegating, how your confidence is, how your attitude is, how your beliefs is. Being able to create clarity and the Mastermind Alliance or the vision around the business. Being able to influence everyone to head towards that vision. Being able to, you get the idea, right? So I love that quote because it's so relatable to an entrepreneur, but also in life, also everything, of course, but especially being an entrepreneur at whatever level and stage you are in your business. It doesn't matter. There is always the next level, always the next level. And that requires probably learning the more proportions of how to bake the cake. Number 7, lucky number 7, is the most powerful quote that's ever been said by any human being that exists. And I actually just pressed pause for a few moments there because it's that powerful and that emotionally to me that it's even hard to talk about it. This was a quote, and I find out how long you've been listening to Mindset by Design, been around me, because when I do focus sessions or I speak to someone, because I used to say this quote a lot a few years ago. And it's by my grandma, I call her my nan. And if you've heard this quote, good. Hear it again, listen, hopefully it makes sense to you and it changes that perspective. Let me tell you this story. My nan was a special lady, and she was 86 or 87 when she passed away, and this was a lady that grew up in the war. So guess what that means? Nothing. When you talk about growing up in a war in the UK, you grew up with nothing. Like, just not food, not anything. And she was a clever lady. And her life was spent through reading. And she read thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of books. And when I say thousands, I literally, truly mean thousands of books. I remember she telling a story that she went into the library one day when she was young still. And she'd read the library. Yeah, she'd read the library. Think about that. How many books you read this year? Okay, I read. Well, I listen, actually, and I'm in constant re-listening mode as well, not just listening to new. I really take on a lot of books, so I re-listening to them. But this is the quote, because this was a lady that I used to speak to about astrophysics, quantum physics, the mind, just everything up until basically when she passed away. And I remember she'd had a couple of strokes, and it was about 4 weeks before she passed away. And I just talked to her like this, because this is me, you know. And I asked her, okay, Nan, here you are, 86 years old, lying on your deathbed. What's the golden nuggets of life? And I'll always remember this. She paused and then looked at me and said, none of this matters. And I said, so what do you mean none of this matters? And she said to me, do you think for one moment that anything you've been stressed about, worried about, the grudges that you've held, the fears that you've had, the projects that you didn't get done, the money that you made, the money that you didn't make, do you think any of that matters when you're lying on your deathbed at 86 years old? And that blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. Because it's such truth. That's 4 weeks before someone's passed away. That was so intelligent, so well read. That is pure wisdom. So anything that you're going through now, the truth is, does it even really matter in the bigger picture? I don't think so. Are you going to lie on that deathbed and go, I should have earned that other million? Oh no, oh no, oh no. Or are you going to be on that deathbed and you have two perspectives? You can live in regret, or you can live in love and gratitude. And so no matter what you're going through now, we can change that perspective. And that is what I do in life. I help people see that truth. No matter what level you're playing at, it doesn't matter. The truth behind it is, none of it really matters. Now, does that mean you shouldn't give it everything you've got? No, you should give it everything you've got times 50,000. Because it's so important that you give it everything you've got. Because what you give it, if you give it everything you've got, you're going to help a lot of people, and that person helps another person, and that person helps another person, and that person helps another person. How many times have you shared the Mindset by Design podcast with somebody or told somebody about it? And they started listening to it, and it really changed their life. That's why it's so important. And that's why I chose these quotes, and that's why I help people every single day. So I know on my deathbed, whether it's today or in 100 years, I can know that I've given everything I've got, so I can lie there and I know that all I have is gratitude and love for my life and my journey and who I've become. And I want you to do the same. So I know you can go either way with this, but the perspective I want to give you is pure motivation, drive, expansiveness. There's not a single thing that if you want it, go and make it happen. Okay, the next one is by the one and only Ghandi. Love this quote. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. I'll say it again. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. I love this quote. I love this quote because it's the truth. Right? It is absolutely the truth. And when you can think of the past and not be in pain, are you weak or strong? Right, strong. When you can think about the future and no matter what's going to happen, you can be at peace with it. Is that weak or strong? Strong. If you can think of that person that ripped you off and there's no emotional attachment to it, is that weak or strong? Strong. So what is it in your life right now that you need to forgive? And if you did, would change everything. That weight would drop. Right? That energy, the mental energy that you've been using or wasting on thinking about that person from the past or that let you down or the opportunity that slipped away, or even thinking about tomorrow. And instead of being happy, you're feeling anxious. Because the anxiousness is connected to fear of the unknown, which is then connected to a past pain or trauma or something that you're hesitating around still. So understand, nothing is real, including those memories from the past. There's simply a perspective about that memory from the past because there was you and something else that happened. But there's somebody or something else that happened had a very different view of the world from you. So what's right? What's wrong? Everyone who makes mistakes probably made it from a fear response. They probably made it from a place of insecurity and desperation. And it's really a survival place. That's a survival mechanism that's built into our brain, right? That's the fight or flight or freeze response. So when we can understand this and that forgiveness is massively powerful, then guess what we got to do? We've got to go into that past and we got to forgive it. We got to go into the future and train it the right way. It was interesting because for some reason, some people out there think that I always talk about building the future. And I do, right? Because what do I talk about? Psychologists and therapists and normal coaches taking people back to root causes of issues and then sitting them in there. And from my perspective and from the neuroscience perspective and understanding how the brain works, what we're doing is we're sitting people in that wound, that pain, that trauma. You can't heal a wound if you're sitting in it, right? But we have to go back and clean the past. We have to go back and delete it. We have to go back and change that perspective and heal it. But how? It's about timing. We have to build the future first. This is what I do different to everybody else in the world. I build you forwards. I build those neural nets, that circuit, it's pumping. From there, guess what? The perspective, the belief, the what's happening around you has changed. How you feel about the self, the future, the past, the people, places, things, that all changes. So you can then go back and then we clean up the past and then we rewrite the future. So when you start to understand that forgiveness means pure strength, but most people don't have the strength to go back and clean that up. But imagine if you did. Forgiving that ex-business partner. I know because I had to do it, right? It took me years to be able to do it. But that's because I didn't bring in the right people around me to help me do that. But once you do it, I can think of that old business partner now who stole my money, stole my dad's money, lied to me, watched me go into bankruptcy, watched me have to leave the country, watched me lose houses and cars and girlfriends and lose everything around me and still lie to me every day. Now I think about that and that image in my head was so burnt in that it used to make me angry every day. And now I think about that image and all I think about is just love for him. Because one, it's a part of my journey. Two, imagine how shit he feels about himself. If you do something wrong, it doesn't feel good, right? So imagine the lies he had to tell himself to be able to actually do that and have that belief that he decided, okay, that was okay to steal my money and then lie to me for that long. Incredible. So I look at that and give it, wow, you were in a messy place. And you know what? Calm as a bitch. And you know that he'll have got chewed up for that. Well, I've gone on to recreate my life and become world class in what I do in a whole different paradigm shift. But if I hadn't gone through that, I'd have still been in real estate and I'd have probably partied and been dead and wouldn't been able to talk to you and help you, right? So forgiveness is a beautiful thing because that weight's gone from me. So there's always weights to cut to be able to constantly lift. So you have to climb, we have to build forwards, but then as we build in forwards, we have to drop those weights off. And it's about timing to do that. And you have to be ready to do those things. Otherwise that forgiveness or that deletion of those old memories, it's not effective and it will come back because what we're doing is resetting or healing the nervous system to respond a different way. Chemically, biomechanically, neurochemically, everything very differently. And when we can do that, the patterns will change, our perspective will change, our belief will change, our attitude will change, which means then the noise will drop. And it means we have more energy, mental energy, to be able to flow onto what we truly want. And if that's in alignment with us, and we go through all of the things that I've spoke about today, then how awesome. So the final quote. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, I told you I'd keep it simple today for you. Lots of aha moments, lots of perspective changes. And so this is probably the second best quote that's ever been said besides my nan. And this was a quote, and it was lots of quotes by this guy that really in the darkest times when I think back in New Zealand, and these are the things that inspired me so much to keep going. And if you're an old school MBD, Mindset by Design crew member, then you're going to have heard me say this years ago a lot because it was cool and I was saying it a lot. But this is by a comic called Bill Hicks. Now, if you don't know who Bill Hicks is, there's definitely some darkness in there for sure, but I just focus on the good stuff, right? And the good stuff is this. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. I'm going to say it again. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Do you want me to say it again? I was going to say it one more time because I want you to get this in your head. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Think about that. Ooh, powerful, right? Because that's what I truly believe. There is no such thing as death. We are in this vessel for now for our own soul's evolution and growth. Or whatever you call a soul, right? Soul sounds really religious. I'm definitely the opposite of religious, but I'm connected with myself, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't believe in any dogma that anyone's wrote, but I respect other people's beliefs. And I really truly believe that there's no such thing as death. We just keep evolving and growing. Life is only a dream. Imagine if that's true. Imagine if we go back at nighttime and where we go dreaming is really reality, and then we come here for a blink of an eye. Think about that, right? And we are only the imagination of ourselves. Well, what we know that this is a holographic universe, and we are the imagination of ourselves. The life that we live on the outside is truly being created by the life that we create on the inside. Now, you might be going, Andy, what about someone who's born into the horriblest circumstances? Right. You can't control that. I can't control that. But what we can control is how we perceive that reality. There's been more than not, you know what I mean, that people have come from the most horrible places and created the most beautiful lives and helped millions of people. It's usually what happens. Look at Oprah, right? We use Oprah, right? No matter what you think about Oprah, Oprah is a badass, and I only discovered this a few years ago, how much of a badass she is. But she's not worth a couple of $1 billion for no reason, right? But she does it purely through helping and service. So think about that. She came from the worst economical circumstances you can probably get besides being in a war zone. And she was locked in attics. She was beaten. She had a kid taken off her at 14 that she had no idea where it is, or they are, I should say. And the only way she knew a different life was when in those attics, she read books. And those books gained a different perspective. That different perspective made a different decision. And that the decision that she made led her to a different place. And then she put the right people around her. She put the right people around her, which meant that she grew. And then is it luck or is it alignment or whatever it is? She became who she is. But guess what? There's hard times and everything else. But our imagination or her imagination created her life. Everything that happened to you in the past led you up to where you are. Thinking as you are, doing as you are, your perspective, your focus, your belief about yourself, your attitude towards the future, the past, etc., etc. What you do next is the thing that's going to create your future. And whatever level of business or life you're at, it doesn't really matter. What you do next changes everything. What you do next is going to make it's going to make your life the best it ever has. So you can look back on now, just like my Nana on the deathbed, and know that you have given everything you've got. That's what you want out of this life. And so back to Bill Hicks's quote, in the darkest moments of my life, this is something I've always gone back to. Always gone back to this quote and a few other ones he does, but gone back to his quote. And I'm going to read it one more time for you. There is no such thing as death. So if there's no such thing as death, why would you even be afraid, right? Think about that. Life is only a dream. And if it's a dream, it can't hurt you. So if it can't hurt you, what are you afraid of? And we are the imagination of ourselves. And if we're the imagination of ourselves, then we want to damn well imagine what we want to be and who we want to be and how we want this life to be. Because imagine if we could unlock our full potential. Imagine if we could do things so differently that the world would just transform around us. That trade would change because you've changed. That deal will get closed because you've changed. That circumstance that you've been afraid of would change. Why? Because you have. Everything around you changes when you change and use your imagination. And that's why I love that quote. Okay, crew, there we go. The end of episode 296. Hope you're awesome. Hope you loved it. Hope you've got some ahas from that. I really do, because you could listen to these episodes and go, oh yeah, but you can re-listen to these episodes just like watching a good movie or a documentary or a book, and you get a second lesson. So that's what I want you to do. And speaking of second lessons, make sure that you're sharing this with somebody. You know, that's an energy exchange. And also make sure you're heading over to the show notes. Why? Because you're going to want to be a part of the FireMind formula. Remember, I have solved one of the biggest problems with entrepreneurs. I've instantly give you a community. I've instantly give you the most cutting-edge mental performance training that exists. I've instantly give you access to 19 years of knowledge, thousands of people, and knowing how to change the best people in the world's minds to make them perform. And I want to put this all into one place that I know that if you are in business, you can afford. So check it out. So firemind.me, and then go to FireMind /apply for FireMind. That's it. Apply -for-FireMind. Done. Boom. So go and do that now. And until then, crew, why don't you have an amazing week? Much, much love. And one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.